Albert Spaggieri, the criminal who committed the heist of the century. Albert Spaggieri, a mild-mannered local portrait photographer, orchestrated a spectacular heist of the Société Générale Bank on Avenue Jean Médecin in the 1970s, which included tunneling into the vault, originating in the sewers. Yes, the sewers. How did he plan the heist, and how did it turn out? Let's go ahead and discuss this. Albert Spaggieri was born to Richard and Marcel Spaggieri on December 14, 1932, in L'Orange-Montalgon, Hautes-Alpes. His father died in 1935, and he spent his childhood in Hyères, where his mother ran a lingerie shop. He enlisted as a paratrooper in the First Indochina War at the age of 19 and was assigned to the 3rd Battalion Colonial Paratroopers. During this time, he and a few other of his associates held a gun to the head of someone they claimed had robbed them. The military court, on the other hand, believed it was a robbery, and Spaggieri spent the next 4 years in prison. Following his release, he relocated to North Africa and joined the Secret Armed Organization, a right-wing organization dedicated to preventing Algerian independence. As a result, he was sentenced to 3.5 years in prison on charges of political terrorism. Spaggieri, who appeared to have put politics behind him, then relocated to Nice, France, with his wife, Audi. They lived in the Wild Geese, a country villa where they raised chickens. He began his professional career as a photographer. When Spaggieri discovered that the sewers were close to the vault of the Société Générale Bank in Nice, he began planning a break-in. He eventually decided to dig into the bank vault from below. Spaggieri rented a box in the bank vault and installed a loud alarm clock inside. He programmed the clock to sound at night to check for any acoustic or seismic detection equipment. The vault had no alarms because it was considered impenetrable. The door wall was extremely thick, and there was no obvious way to access the other walls. Spaggieri contacted professional gangsters from Marseille, who decided not to participate in the heist after reviewing his plans and the location. His associates were most likely recruited through old OAS friends. His men entered the sewers and dug an 8-meter-long tunnel from the sewer to the vault floor over the course of 2 months. Spaggieri had taken numerous precautions during this lengthy dig, while his men worked long hours drilling continuously. He instructed them not to drink coffee or alcohol, and to get at least 10 hours of sleep per shift in order to avoid jeopardizing the mission. Spaggieri's gang broke into the vault itself on July 16, 1976, during the long weekend of Bastille Day. They stole between 30 and 100 million francs in cash, securities, and valuables. It was the largest bank robbery in history up to that point. According to some accounts, Spaggieri provided his men with a meal that included wine and pâté, and they sat down in the vault for a picnic lunch after welding the vault door shut from the inside. The gang sifted through the various safe deposit boxes for hours. They left a message on the vault's walls before retiring on July 20th, without weapons, hatred, or violence. Jacques Cassandra published The Truth About the Nice Heist in 2010, claiming responsibility for the 1976 robbery and claiming that Albert Spaggieri played only a minor role. Because the crime occurred so long ago, he could not be prosecuted under French law. However, he was arrested on suspicion of later money laundering, allegedly using the robbery proceeds to fund business ventures in Marseille and Corsica. Around 20 people were detained in connection with the case, including Cassandra's wife, children, and a Corsican politician. The French police were initially perplexed. They were closing in by the end of October, and on a tip from a former girlfriend, they arrested one of the thieves. He implicated the entire gang, including Spaggieri, after a lengthy interrogation. When Spaggieri returned to Nice after accompanying Nice Mayor Jacques Médecin to the Far East as a photographer, he was arrested at the airport. Spaggieri chose Jacques Perrat, a veteran of the French Foreign Legion who belonged at the time to the National Front, as his defense attorney. Spaggieri initially denied his involvement in the bank break-in, then admitted it while claiming to be working to fund a secret political organization called Catena, which appears to have existed only in his imagination. Spaggieri devised an escape strategy during his case hearings. He created a fictitious document and used it as evidence. He coded the document so that the judge could decipher it. While Judge Richard Buaziz was distracted by the document, Spaggieri jumped out a window, landing safely on a parked car before fleeing on a waiting motorcycle. According to some reports, the car's owner later received a 5,000-franc check in the mail for the damage to his roof. Jacques Perrault accused Christian Esterossi, a French minister and former motorcycle champion, for being Spaggieri's driver in 1995, but Estrossi proved that he was racing in Daytona Beach, Florida at the time. After a lengthy investigation, detectives tracked down Mr. Spaggieri in Nice and extracted his confession. He was arrested soon after, but escaped from the magistrate's office on March 10, 1977. He grumbled about the heat, stood up, opened a window, and leaped out, landing on a car 9 feet below. On the back of a motorcycle, he was whisked away. Mr. Spaggieri was sentenced to life in prison in absentia after the driver, Gerard Rang, was arrested. 6 other men were arrested in the robbery, which inspired the film The Sewers of Paradise. 3 of them were acquitted, while others received prison sentences ranging from 5 to 7 years. In 1980, a Paris bank was robbed of $12 million, and the same message, plus the words, "Thanks," was found on one of the walls. Mr. Spaggieri was not charged in connection with the robbery. Spaggieri was a free man for the rest of his life. He was sentenced to life in prison in absentia. He is said to have had plastic surgery and spent most of his life in Argentina, secretly visiting France to see his mother or wife, Audi. While his most recent book, Le Journal d'un Truffe, was being published, Bernard Pivot interviewed him on the TV show Apostrophes in Milan, Italy. Michael Townley, the Dina International agent responsible for the murder of Orlando Letelier, a member of Salvador Allende's government in Washington, D.C. in 1976, was in contact with Spaggieri, according to a CIA document declassified in 2000 and published by the National Security Archive. According to the document, Spaggieri, codenamed Daniel, operated on Dina's behalf. Spaggieri died under mysterious circumstances, according to the reports. On June 10, 1989, his mother discovered his body in front of her house, according to the press. She drove the body from Italy to France while lying to police. Unauthorized transportation of a corpse is a crime in both countries. The robbery's proceeds were never discovered. 5 milliards en bois de la joie, 1977, was written by French authors René-Louis Maurice and Jean-Claude Simon about Spaggieri's bank heist in Nice. The work was translated into English in 1978 by British author Ken Follett and published under the titles The Heist of the Century, The Gentleman of July 16, and Under the Streets of Nice. Follett was outraged when some publishers marketed it as the new Ken Follett book, when it was, in fact, a hastily translated translation. Albert Spaggieri's bank robbery is an infamous chapter in criminal history, and while we certainly shouldn't emulate his actions, several non-criminal lessons can be gleaned from this event. Albert Spaggieri's heist took a considerable amount of planning and preparation. They studied the bank's layout, timing, and security measures, and even dug a tunnel from the sewer system over a period of months. This shows the importance of careful planning and preparation in any endeavor. When a project is meticulously planned, it's more likely to succeed. The heist required a high degree of coordination and cooperation. Spaggieri demonstrated leadership qualities, including inspiring and directing a group towards a common goal, managing complex logistics, and maintaining secrecy and discipline. Effective teamwork and leadership are essential for success in many areas of life, from business to community projects. Spaggieri and his crew demonstrated a certain ingenuity in overcoming obstacles. They used unique and innovative solutions to bypass the bank's security systems and escape the police ultimately. While the application was illegal, the principle of thinking outside the box to solve problems can be very beneficial in legal and ethical contexts. While Spaggieri succeeded in the short term, his actions led to long-term negative consequences. He lived the remainder of his life as a fugitive and died with a criminal legacy. This underscores the fact that actions have consequences, and unethical behavior often leads to negative outcomes. It's always important to consider the potential long-term consequences of our actions. Remember, these lessons should be applied ethically and legally. Spaggieri's story isn't a model to follow, but a cautionary tale that illustrates certain principles in a unique context. Thanks for watching. Do subscribe to the channel and share your video recommendations in the comments sections if you want us to do more videos like this.